Good afternoon, listeners and viewers out there. We're here in our Mayfair studio today to film another series in our British Business Podcast. I'm delighted to welcome Julia Suzuki, an entrepreneur, business lady. Fascinating conversation this afternoon. I'd just like to start, Julia, by welcoming you to the studio.
Thank you for having me.
And can I ask you, where did it start and what do you do?
Thank you so much for having me, like I said. So, yes, I would class myself as an entrepreneur, and it's been a long journey to get to where ultimately I'm thrilled to be in the position I am. So I started off with a background in branding, and my first positions out of university were with Land Rover brand management, and I went on to work for Disney licensing for a while, but always had this sort of fire in my belly where I didn't like the 9 to 5 and feeling trapped. In fact, when I left working with Disney, a company called Copyright, my boss said to me, there's like a butterfly trapped, she could see that I just wanted to go and find my own personal destiny, as I call it. And I think for entrepreneurs, that's what it's about, finding what you're good at, or more likely what makes you feel good.
Sure.
Because if you're not feeling good, then in this life, why are you doing that? It's not always as easy because we've got to pay the bills, etc. So I believe in every situation I look back on now, and there was a lesson for me, even with the branding, sort of giving me an understanding of how big brands are built, and the licensing, working with the Disney, they also own Mattel and all that. Really fascinated me how you could print money off using other businesses with one brand name to just coin in. So it was serendipity really that led me into my first business, and I actually was working with at the motor show actually, and I got asked, if I could run a team for them, and I set up my own promotions agency at age 25 and had the Suzuki GB contract, Yokohama, meant Aston Martin. I managed to build up these teams of girls, and that's where I started.
Okay.
We got redundancy, so serendipity, I believe bless the broken road, and that's where I started. And where I am today is that I have my own personal brand now. I worked for the entrepreneur David Lloyd, which was a contract that I got, and ended up building his property business all over the world for him.
Wow.
Did that for 8 years, learnt a huge amount from David. I mean, if there's a wall, David will go through it, So he's like, I like to think I was a bit like his apprentice, although he would arguably say I was very bossy. So I think he kind of knew where I was heading. And then now I have my own personal brand. But I do have other, I'm a brand ambassador, and I have a property business and other things that I do to sort of ultimately, but my main baby is Julia Suzuki brand, which is a lifestyle brand, which includes I've got high net worth clients, fashion and lifestyle products. So it's that really where I'm focused on. I'm also a published author, which came along the way. So that's a little bit. Yeah, I have written a book about an entrepreneurial dragon, which was when my son was younger. I kind of wrote it for him, but it was kind of my journey in a metaphoric way. So yeah, I've done that too. So lots of things really.
If somebody was watching this podcast this afternoon, how could they get a hold of the book? What's it called?
It's available on Amazon. It's called The Land Rover. Yeah.
And how long ago did you write that book?
That was about 10 years ago now since I published. Yeah.
And the content is all about your journey in the business world.
Yeah, and about my youth as well. How every problem can become an opportunity, when you're not sure who you are and you're a bit different and all those things. Yeah, so.
Wow. So when you were with David Lloyd.
Yes.
And you said that you managed his property portfolio.
Yeah.
Is that worldwide?
Yeah, so we, David sold out of David Lloyd Leisure and then formed a property business. And it was my idea to form David Lloyd Signature Homes, which is, we branded other developments with David's name to help him sell the developments. So it's like, we call it developer partnerships. It's my idea to set that up. And then we did various projects, resorts projects, including in Montenegro and California and all around. So yeah, I did manage the developer partnership and the licensing for him for that.
So that was purely down to you. So you were autonomous
in that concept.
Wow.
And a couple of other things. He took on a couple of artists, Willard Wigan and a guy called Temper, that we had a few different businesses that we were working on together.
Are you able to say how many properties were in that portfolio?
Oh, there was thousands.
Thousands?
There was 2,000 in Grande Pallisades alone, which was in California. I mean, we hit across a problem. It was when the recession hit and all the property developers were...
Is this 2008?
Yes, yeah. So they didn't all come off at that time. And then he diversified into just taking... presenting other people's, it's basically an estate agency now, David Lloyd Signature Homes, which is like an estate agency for other people's development. So using his name and capitalizing on his name, because it's all about reliability. People need the trust, and they have that trust in his name. It's a 5-star brand name. But then I was like, well, I want my own brand name. So obviously very different products. Sure. But
so are you completely then standalone? And when did that journey begin for you when you were standalone? When did you go
my
on
own
your
way?
Own? Yeah.
So my son's 21 now. When it was about 12, 13, which is when I wrote the book, I decided to go my own way. I was traveling so much, and as GCSEs were approaching, and I'd spent a lot of years when I wasn't with him, unfortunately. Well, my parents were very supportive, and I wanted to be those years at home with him, because you can't buy that time.
Can't get it back.
You can't get it back. So, and my passport was stamped so heavily, and I just didn't want to get on a plane ever again. Been there, done it. So that's when I took a step back, wrote my book, which it wasn't so much of it was a cathartic thing, commercial. There was commercial benefits to it, but you can't make, unless you're, J.K. Rowling, you don't make money off 12p on a book.
No.
But that's when I formed my fashion house, which is all bespoke one-offs, because I've always designed my own stuff or had an interest in that.
And that's the brand.
That's my brand.
Julia Suzuki.
Yeah, which I've still got plans for. I write for a luxury fashion magazine now. I've got my own 5 pages of write. It's called Live 24/7.
Live 24/7,
which is luxury magazine across Cotswolds, all the Midlands. Obviously, you can tell I'm from the Midlands by my accent. But yeah, so that's where my plan is to grow. But I also coach as well. I've got a coaching business to help other entrepreneurs to.
And what's that called?
It's under my Julia Suzuki brand.
Okay, so the brand that you are, Julia Suzuki, everything comes underneath that
Yes,
brand.
it does.
Okay.
Yes, which is actually, I've only been doing that for two years. I've got a lot of American clients, which is actually proving to be my most lucrative arm.
Really?
It's very left field, wasn't what I planned, but certainly helps the cash flow, and I find it really beneficial helping others, and giving your energy to them and hope and just, a lot of it's about self-belief and a bit of bravery, to go for your dreams.
So did that business in America come along because your branding is so strong on what you do?
And my network as well.
Okay.
Because I'm working with David and just my network of people.
Okay.
It was, like I said, it was in COVID that it started, when my fashion business was very sort of quiet, because it's all one-to-one. I was doing a lot of private clients, which, as I said, I started that with the book because I could do it from home, and it was, but now my plan is to to up that and make it more even more commercial and so not one-offs, to actually commercialise that into high street.
And in the stable, you said that you were also a brand ambassador. So somebody's come along from their brand and said, we love what you do. Yeah. Can you be a brand ambassador?
Is that how it happened?
Really?
It did actually from...
Are you able to say who and what the brand is?
Yeah, the company's called Ultimate Attraction, and they're part of the Dating Options Group, who are well established, been going 20 years. And they have 6 or 7 other brands, including Avenues, Dating, Gay Relationships. So Ultimate Attraction is their creme de la creme for entrepreneurs that haven't got the time and want to find someone that's like-minded. They don't want to have an online presence because they're employees or other people. Yeah. And it's 100% matchmaking. We have 16 plus matchmakers and membership advisors. So it's really about, we have quite a few celebrities on that. It's really about finding like-minded people of the same ilk, the same energy, that kind of thing. And we found it was a brand they wanted to expand. And when I say branding ambassador, Dan as acting CEO, I do spend time with the branding, the strategy, the blogs for them, and the networking. And it's grown, I think, 300% in the first year.
Wow.
So, yeah.
How many people would be looking on that service to be able to sort of, because I can really see the benefit and the value that you bring with that. Yeah. Because there must be, especially if they're high profile or they're celebrities, that they are worried that things can go into the public domain.
But it's also not just that, it's about security checks. Okay. Everybody is interviewed. Everybody has a special test to check that they're not bankrupt, they're not married, that they live where they say they're going to do. They see a crime reference checked, because there's some horror stories out there.
I bet there is.
And especially for people that are wealthy or successful, they just haven't got the time to waste on catfish, or there's so much of that. So they know they're in safe hands. They know they get their own matchmaker. They can just say yes or no. And these girls and guys are so clever at what they do, because they read people and they'll say, I can see them together. Okay. So it's a little bit different. I mean, it's not the only, there's lots of matchmaking companies that do that, but that's what we're about.
Okay. You have a son, 21 years old.
Elliot.
When you were working, did you bring your son up as a single mum?
I was a single mother, yes. I had a lot of support from my parents, who were both retired, so it enabled me to go off and do what I wanted to do. He came with me to a lot of situations. Wow. David Lloyd is his godfather. Wow. And he says to me, Mum, I'm inspired by the life experiences you gave me. Or going to the Wimbledon tennis or skiing in Aspen, He's got some good memories. And he's left school at 16 and he's now a site manager because he wants to go into construction. Okay. So I kind of said to him, look, just do whatever you want to do. He's got a team of guys that work for him.
Wow.
So he's very entrepreneurial.
So 21, he's got people working.
Yeah, he does. He's got a team. He's got, I think they're building 40 bungalows at the moment. Wow. And he manages all the buying and the site management for that. Wow. Started off at 16 and I could never have imagined it of him. Because literally, he wouldn't even take his cup downstairs. I mean, every morning I'd go and pick the crisp packets up. Well, that's what a mom's for, Literally, he'd say that's what a mom's for. And so I could not have imagined, I didn't know where he was going to go. And his first job was as a bricklayer, and he was up at 6 o'clock in the morning. And he did it. And still to this day, he's blonde hair, blue-eyed, into his designer gear. I just couldn't have imagined it. Wow. So he shocked me. And he still shocks me now. I can't believe that he manages to do these things. So... They can surprise you.
Do you use a lot of social media for helping you to build your business?
I don't personally.
You don't? Okay.
Because
a lot of, sorry to interrupt you, a lot of our listeners and our viewers have been talking about lots of different social media platforms.
Yeah.
I've grown up through business and doing business without social media.
Yes.
I haven't done any of it at all, apart from LinkedIn. LinkedIn, I find, is the only acceptable social media because it's for business.
Yeah.
Are you on? You're not on?
I'm on social media, but everything I do, 90% of what I do is through direct marketing, through people that I know, people that I've, influencers, business influencers that already know that I've got the network, and I'm very blessed to have a few that seem to know everybody, and I'll make a phone call thinking about this. Oh, I know so and so and so and so. Yes, LinkedIn. But I personally, it depends on what you're selling, what your product is. Mine's quite niche. The luxury, the high net worth individuals aren't necessarily where I want to be on the platforms I want to be on. I find it extremely time consuming, a distraction. I've personally come off looking. You scroll. I don't scroll.
No.
And there's a few that I've followed that of inspirational people, property entrepreneurs and actors and actresses that I'm particularly a fan of. But literally, my time on social media now is ridiculously low.
Yeah, and that's the message we keep hearing time again as we go through this period, especially after coming out of the pandemic. I think a lot of people are saying, I want to change direction, which is, I think, a very good thing, because they're looking at their lives and thinking it's got to be something a little bit different or better.
Yeah.
But I also don't want them to run the risk of you thinking that social media is everything. You're clearly saying, actually, I don't do any self-promotion via...
I have my Facebook business page.
Okay.
And I do make connections of that because it's everything I post is business related, and it's also like a personal diary. My personal page is quite locked down, and again, I don't post on that. And the other thing is, my son's now, Mum, you can't post that. He's like, he doesn't want me to post because he's at that sensitive age, holiday shots or anything. I am not against it. To me, it can be very toxic. It leads to comparison, which is the thief of joy.
Yeah.
And it's not real. It's not real. Much of it isn't real. It's just that people give an impression of what, and I've incidents with my own family members that it hasn't been healthy for, and I'm steering them away from it. So I'm not going to judge it, because for some people it's extremely successful. If you're selling a product to the mass market.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, that works.
Well, if you I haven't mastered it. I haven't needed to master it. It's not what I'm about. And I have the dating agency have a team that do it, but the success they get is from search engine optimization through the website. That's how and networking through. So, yeah.
So how much networking do you do? Because we try on this podcast to try to get people to understand that making a connection, having a relationship, building relationships is the ultimate to getting. I mean, your relationship with David Lloyd sounds like it was a match made in heaven, and actually it was good for both of you.
Yeah.
And so the fruits of what brought, thousands of properties that you managed. That's a huge responsibility.
Yeah, we weren't so much managing them. We were doing the big deals to say, you give us 10% of all your sales and use David's name. It was a licensing deal, right? And that's really where, with my brand, my plan is to license it. Like I'm licensing it to the ultimate attraction, in a way, you could call it that.
Yep.
This is where, you get bogged down with your own companies and staffing and stock and all the rest of it is where you starts to blow your head. Yeah. And I admire anybody that scales up a large business. If you can do it in the smart way and you can get someone else to scale it and you just take a fee.
That's smart.
And essentially, sort of my coaching work, you know, they're buying my time, and I'm helping them to get, I'd like to think I'm helping them to think smarter through the mistakes I've learned and say, hold on a minute, you could do it this way, or you could, and I don't have to, I got an agent out there that gets me the clients.
For the coaching work.
Yeah. So again, I'm very blessed, but luck is labour under correct knowledge, right? And definitely. So, you know, and I also, one of my favourite sayings is about a person, or man or woman without a purpose seeks pleasure. And this is where social media can be an addiction. If you've got a purpose in life, you haven't got the time to seek pleasure. That goes the same for people that are married and have affairs. You know, like if you haven't got a life purpose, you get distracted because you're needing to fill yourself up with alcohol or this or that and the other. So I'm saying to people, find your purpose, find your mission, try things. Some of you, I mean, if I had everything that I've tried, and then it will flow. It will be upstream. If you're paddling upstream, it's not for you. It's downstream. You got to find where your downstream is. Sure. And you'll find it. You've just got to keep, its persistence is key, isn't it? You know? Absolutely.
In the pandemic, what happened to your business in the pandemic? Did it fluctuate?
It died. It died because nobody wants event wear. There was no weddings. There were no, balls, gowns, charity events. People weren't wearing £600 bikinis. You know, it wasn't. It died. It died.
How did that affect you?
Well, it's funny, really. It was a blessing. As I always say, bless the broken road. I didn't feel it at the time. I'd sold my house. I brought Elliot up in a large home where it was our family home, 5 bedrooms, gated entrance, all the rest of it. I'd done all that. I said I wanted to downsize. He was moving, got his own place. I sold literally just before COVID, and I didn't have a home. It was such a crazy time. Wow. And I found a place, a lakeside development. So many good things happened for me, but at the time I was like, what the hell is going on here? And that was when I fell into the coaching work. Okay. And like I said, it's literally 20 times more lucrative than my fashion business. Wow. Although long term, with my plans to scale it, I can see where that can go. But it's like the angels. It really was, you know, and I think many people have said that, you know, every problem can become an opportunity. It's just how you think at things and how you look at things. And, you know, mindset in business is everything. Everything. It you know, and the tides come in and the tides go out. This is what I say to my clients, you know, it's ebb and flow of life, but you've got to make the most of every different, you know, wave that comes, and that's really, I've had some very, very challenging times.
How did you deal with those? Because I think mindset is wonderful. Resilience is just something even more, because if you go through bad times, and we all go through bad times, how do you cope with that? What are your coping mechanisms as a business person?
Well, I'm into yoga. Yoga is my thing. And actually more and more fell into yoga during the lockdown. I actually did a course with Yoga Alliance to be an instructor. I am an instructor. I don't teach. I did it for me. Okay. Because my thing is getting on my mat and walking. Those are my things. Okay. I play a bit of tennis. But to me, anything that's confidence is within yourself. Yep. And anything that's outside of yourself has a means to control you. So alcohol, drugs, and some people will then think you're boring, but I am a sensitive soul. If I drink the next day, I'm going in a depression, you know what I mean? So I had my own coping mechanisms which work for me. Reading, I read a lot of personal development.
Okay.
And your friendship group, it's, you know, you've got to get yourself around like-minded individuals. I've got a very close friend, well, a few, but there was one in particular, you know, that I'd call it when I'm having I'll call it stinking thinking, because we all get stinking thinking.
Never heard that before.
Yeah, I've got my mentor, my wise friend Sal. I'll call him up and he'll say, "Do you need a checkup from the neck up?" And then straight away, I'm in a good mood. You know, we all have down moments and dark moments, especially when you're on your own. Yeah. And momentum of those thoughts. I love Abraham Hicks. Have you ever heard of Abraham Hicks? She's a very well-known American law of attraction guru. Okay. She thinks completely outside the box, but her thing is the momentum of thoughts. So when we're in a good mood, we have a good thought, we latch on another good thought and another good thought. We create this thing, and before you know it, we're up on the scale of ecstasy or happiness. Same with a negative thought. You start, and she believes in 16 seconds. If you start on a 16-second roll of negativity, by the time you get to 68 seconds, you're like a snowball, you're clumping negatives onto it. So I try and manage that and think, I'm going in a dark place here. Yeah. Easier said than done, because it can get addictive. Sure. It really can. Woe is me can get addictive and hard to break. But I can guarantee that neighbour they've got their own problems. We've all got our own problems, no matter what level we're at. You know, if it's not your relationship, it's your house, it's your family, it's something. Sure.
I remember listening to Jim Rohn. And he said, do you know what? He said, everybody's got their own problems. He said, so, you know, you want to be Steve Jobs or Tony Robbins, they've got their own problems. You have your problems.
Yeah.
Deal with your own problems.
And look at the scale of things that they've got to deal with. I mean, poor Anthony Robbins recently had that court case, and I'm not sure that if somebody accused him of something, and his brand was going to from there to zero. That they're full. When they fall, they're going to fall massively. And with everybody trying to cancel everybody at the moment, and an opinion is just a perspective at the end of the day.
I have a saying. I stole it from Marshall McLuhan.
Right.
It says, "An opinion is a dangerous substitute for insight and understanding."
Yes.
It's wonderful, isn't it? I use that a lot. It's probably my favourite quote.
Yeah. But you can find a negative in anything, everything that someone's doing.
And we can't afford to. There's so many things that we need to do in business in order to keep on going. I'm really interested what the future looks like for you. So have you got lots of plans? Have you got other brands? Have you got other products out there? Or at the moment, are you consolidating?
Yeah, more of the same, really. I'm really at that stage now where I can enjoy the fruits of my labour.
Sure.
I'm really keen to continue on my property, my coaching, and my personal brand. It's really now that I want to. Okay. You know, David obviously had started with one gym. His business is now worth £1 billion. He doesn't own it. He doesn't own it. He's sold out a long way back. But I love the creative side of fashion. You know, that's the girly in me. I do get other opportunities that get handed to me. So who knows what's out there. I want to continue with my writing. I've got some ideas for that. And so we'll just see what life brings. I'm not going to go into it with any sort of too harsh a focus.
Okay. Would you say that one of the best things that you've had has been a mentor? Because I don't think enough people have a mentor. I think that
everybody needs one.
Yeah, I think that too. But I don't think enough people even really understand what a mentor is and what they do. Because it's not just about giving them the critical decision or opinion about something. Sometimes it can just be
Renting.
Your Sal, is it?
Yeah, my Sal, and he doesn't charge me, bless him. He's retired and he mentors, like, he says it's a hell. His saying is it's hell being a guru, but it's really fun getting there. You know, he's just entertaining and built a big company, sold it to Robert Maxwell, is it? Yeah, the one. He's had a big IT business, lots of staff, and
Wow.
so his sayings. Give people acceptance time when someone says no. Give them acceptance time. It causes noise in the system when people are, rattling off about something. His gems I've absorbed over time, right?
Sure.
So I'm blessed to have him. I think the hard thing for a lot of people is finding a mentor that is right for you, because if you go to the wrong person, they can have an adverse effect. You're in the wrong relationship, it can have 90% of your happiness can be a result of your relationship. So choose carefully or be on your own.
Yes, that's
true. And it's hard being on your own, but it's harder being in the wrong relationship.
So we've been talking much about your business. Is there anything that you feel that you've missed, you'd like to say, you'd like to reiterate, you'd like to summarize, or actually you've missed something and you'd like to say?
Perhaps for people, I've spoken here a lot about purpose, and I think a lot of entrepreneurs find something that really interests them. Elon Musk, is passionate about travel, his planes and his cars. I mean, that's very much a boy's thing. And you've got to be passionate about what you do to spend so much time immersed in it. And when you're in your element, time just goes. And someone told me, my mentor said, look at what you loved to do as a child. I mean, for me, it was my Cindy dolls, my fashion, interiors, and things like that. I was massively into reading and books, Enid Blyton and the stuff like that. So my life has been ultimately, I've had to go off and have jobs because I've had to pay bills and, all different things, but they've all helped me to, in a way, learn from it. But I say, find something, that you really, really love to do and look back at that child within, because being childish isn't good, but being childlike is good. And if you can, my advice would be to try and let that be your purpose in life. And if you can make it commercial or whatever it is, but that's really how I try and guide as a coach. People have lost their way and they're not happy, even people with depression. You don't want to be an entrepreneur, but do more of those things that you love to do when you were a child.
Brilliant. And our viewers and listeners out there, in order to get in touch with you, how would they do that?
Well, there's only one of me in the UK as Julia Suzuki. So my website's juliasuzuki.com.
Fantastic. Or
you can find me I am on socials. I'm just not that active.
Okay. Thank you so much for coming in today.
Thank you so much.
As you can see, another amazing podcast on our British Business Podcast series. Until next time.